I think Willow's about to make the kind of mistake people make when they're already scared and trying way too hard to look normal. That's where my mind goes immediately. Not, oh, Willow is just protecting Drew. Not, oh, she's confused. No! I feel like she is slipping. And Liz, whew! Liz is not the person you want sniffing around when your whole cover story is built with duct tape and vibes. Because, in my opinion, the whole issue with Drew and the medical communication device is not some tiny hospital detail. It's actually the crack in the wall. That device, or whatever new method the hospital wants to use so Drew can communicate, is dangerous to Willow. Because communication means agency. It means Drew gets a voice. It means Drew might point, blink, type, signal, anything. And once Drew can communicate clearly, all the little lies around him start shaking. That's why I feel Liz's question matters so much. When she asks Willow why Drew should not have access to these newer medical tools, she is not just asking as a nurse doing paperwork. No, no, no. Liz is watching the room. She is reading Willow's face. She is listening to the pause before the answer. That little half second where Willow has to invent something, that is where Liz lives. Liz has been in enough hospital nightmares, enough messy Port Charles chaos, enough something feels off situations to know when somebody is selling her a story. And I could be wrong, but I do not think Liz truly buys Willow's explanation. I think Liz may nod. She may give that calm, professional, okay, I hear you face. But inside, I think she's like, nah, girl, something ain't right here. That's the part that gets me. Willow is trying to block Drew from communicating, and she probably frames it like concern. Maybe she says Drew is too fragile. Maybe she says the device could overwhelm him. Maybe she says it's too soon, too stressful, too experimental. And listen, on the surface, that sounds reasonable enough. In a hospital, doctors and nurses do consider patient stress, cognition, recovery stages, all that. That's real. But the problem is Willow's behavior has that I need control smell on it. And Liz can smell it too. This is just my interpretation, but I think Liz may start quietly following Willow's movements after that conversation. Not in some cartoon detective way, not hiding behind plants like a goofball, but in that Liz way. She notices who Willow talks to. She notices where Willow goes after being questioned. She notices if Willow suddenly becomes too interested in Nina. And if Liz starts connecting Nina to this, oh baby, then the whole thing goes from suspicious to dangerous real quick. Because Nina, knowing Sidwell supplied the poison, that changes everything. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about Nina, and I'm frustrated because Nina always gets herself pulled into something by emotion first, logic maybe later, maybe never. In my opinion, Nina may not have started this whole disaster with the same cold intent as Sidwell or Willow, but once she knows, and once she hides it, she is in it. That is the educational part of this kind of story too. Covering up harm is not neutral. Silence can become participation. You do not have to be the person holding the poison to become part of the crime. If you protect the person who did it, if you manipulate evidence, if you help pressure a witness, you are not standing outside the fire anymore. You are inside it, smelling like smoke. And Nina knows it. I feel like Nina is trapped, but not innocent trapped. More like I made one bad choice, then another, and now the walls are sweating trapped. The nastiest twist here, in my opinion, is Willow possibly blackmailing Nina with those fingerprints on the syringe. That is wicked. That is not just desperation. That is strategy. If Willow planted Nina's fingerprints or maneuvered her into touching the syringe with the poison, then Willow did more than ask for help. She built leverage. She made sure Nina could not run away clean. And that is where I start seeing Willow differently. Because a panicked person lies. A guilty person avoids. But someone who sets up another person with evidence, that's a whole other lane. That is calculated. That is, I need a backup hostage in this mess. And I hate saying it because Willow used to feel like someone who was always being hurt by the world around her. But now, I feel like the hurt has fermented into something ugly. Like she has convinced herself that because she suffered, she is allowed to do whatever it takes. And that is a scary mindset. So when Willow goes to Nina and says something like, Liz is becoming a problem, I can already hear the alarm bells. That phrasing alone, if it happens that way or anything close to it, is chilling. Because Liz is not a problem. Liz is a nurse. Liz is doing her job. Liz is trying to protect a patient's right to communicate. But in Willow's world right now, anyone who threatens the cover-up becomes a threat to eliminate. Now, do I think Willow would straight up say, silence Liz? I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe she dresses it up. Maybe she says, you need to talk to her. Maybe she says, she can't keep digging. Maybe she says, you owe me. And Nina, already sweating because of the syringe situation, may realize Willow is not asking. Willow is pushing. Willow is reminding Nina that if this blows up, Nina's name can be dragged right along with Sidwell's and Willow's. And that is where the mother-daughter dynamic gets real twisted. Because Nina may still feel guilt, love, obligation, all of it. Willow knows that. Willow may use that. And I know some people might say, well, Nina can just go to the cops. But come on. This is Port Charles. Nobody goes to the cops until the 5th explosion, the 3rd hostage situation, and one person dramatically whispers a truth in a hospital chapel. That's how this town operates. Mess first, accountability later. But Liz overhearing the conversation? That is the moment I keep replaying in my head. I picture Liz not planning to hear everything. Maybe she follows Willow because she's concerned. Maybe she sees Willow duck into a quiet area with Nina. Maybe she catches just enough at first, one phrase that makes her stop. Drew, poison, Liz, syringe, something like that. And then she freezes. Because once Liz realizes this is not just Willow being emotionally messy, this is something that could involve an actual attempt to keep Drew helpless, maybe even harmed, then Liz is in a nightmare. And I think Liz would be horrified, not only because of Drew, but because of the hospital itself. A hospital is supposed to be a place where people regain voice, safety, dignity. When somebody blocks a patient's access to communication tools, that is not a small thing. In real-life terms, patient communication rights matter deeply. People who cannot speak still deserve ways to express consent, pain, fear, memory, accusation, all of it. So if Willow is interfering with Drew's access to those tools because she's afraid of what he might reveal, then the story is not just soap chaos. It's also about control. It's about how dangerous it is when someone decides another person's silence is useful. That right there makes Liz the perfect person to catch on. Liz knows caregiving is not ownership. She knows being close to a patient does not give you the right to decide what truth they can speak. And I feel like Liz, once she hears enough, will go into that quiet survival mode. Not panic screaming, not running down the hall yelling, I know everything! Because that would be dumb. And Liz is not dumb. She might hide. She might record something. She might go straight to someone she trusts. Or she might pretend she heard nothing. Which honestly may be the smartest move at first. Because if Willow and Nina realize Liz heard them, oh, it's game on. And not in a cute way. I think danger could come to Liz fast. Maybe not immediately with some big dramatic attack, but pressure. A setup, a threat, a professional complaint. Maybe Willow tries to make Liz look unstable or biased. Maybe Nina tries to pull hospital strings, talk around Liz, make her seem paranoid. That's the sneaky danger I'm watching for. Not just physical danger, but credibility danger. Because in Port Charles, destroying someone's reputation can be just as useful as locking them in a basement. And I feel like Willow may be desperate enough to do both. Sorry, but that's where I'm at. I don't trust her right now. I don't trust her trembling voice. I don't trust the "I'm just worried" act. I don't trust the soft eyes. I think she's scared, yes. But scared people can be dangerous when they think the truth will ruin them. Nina, though. Nina is the wild card. I feel like Nina may be forced into helping Willow, but I also think Nina could crack under pressure. Nina can scheme, sure, but she is not Sidwell. Sidwell gives me cold-blooded chessboard energy. Nina gives me emotional tornado and designer clothes. She can cover something for a minute, but once the guilt hits, once Liz becomes a real target, once Drew's condition gets worse or he gets close to communicating, Nina may spiral. And that could save Liz. Because let's be real, if Liz is smart, and I believe she is, she needs to understand she is not just dealing with Willow. She is dealing with Willow plus Nina plus Sidwell's shadow hanging over the whole situation. That means Liz has to move carefully. She needs evidence, not just instinct. She needs to protect Drew's access to communication without tipping off Willow too early. She needs to maybe bring in someone who can't easily be manipulated. Terry maybe, Portia, depending on where her head is. Maybe even someone outside the hospital power games. And I keep thinking about Drew. If Drew is trapped in his own body or limited in how he can communicate, then the medical device becomes the key to the whole storyline. If he gets access, even for a moment, maybe he gives one clue. A name, a warning. Maybe he signals Willow. Maybe he signals Nina. Maybe he signals something about the poison. And if Liz is there to witness it, Willow's fear becomes reality. That's why Willow wants the device blocked. In my opinion, it's not about Drew's health, it's about Drew's truth. And that is the part that makes my stomach twist, because Willow's panic may push her into targeting the one person who is actually trying to restore Drew's voice. Liz becomes the obstacle because Liz believes patients deserve to be heard. That's powerful. That's also dangerous. So, where do I land? I think Liz may overhear enough to understand Willow and Nina are hiding something massive. I think Willow will realize Liz is suspicious, maybe not at first, but soon. I think Nina will be pressured to help neutralize Liz, even if she hates herself for it. And I think the syringe fingerprints are going to become the chain around Nina's ankle. Willow may not even need to threaten Nina loudly. She just has to remind her, your prints are there too. That's nasty work. Low down soap opera nasty work. But I also feel Liz has one advantage Willow is underestimating. Liz knows how guilty people behave in a hospital. She has seen grief, lies, panic, denial, addiction, obsession, love, turn, toxic, all of it. Willow may think Liz is just suspicious, but Liz is experienced, and that experience may be what helps her survive the trap. I could be wrong, but I feel Liz will not rush. She will watch, she will listen, and then she will make a move when Willow thinks she still has control. And when that happens, Willow's whole little house of cards could come down hard. Because the truth about Drew is not dead. It is just trapped behind silence right now. And Liz? Liz may be the one person stubborn enough, sharp enough, and honestly brave enough to give that truth a way out.